Hey everyone, so today I'm going to be doing a World War I ration video. I'm going to be making slum, which is the slang term for slum Goulian, which is traditionally made with elbow macaroni and shredded beef and tomato, but it was also in the trenches used with what rations they had and what they could get their hands on. Today I just have some rations out. I'm not going to be using all of them. So yeah. And then for reference, there's a lot of stuff on the internet that have several different recipes. I'm going to go with something that would, primarily be used of what was issued versus like saying like, oh, they could have gotten potatoes or onions, because the recipe calls for flour, like a traditional recipe without the elbow macaroni. It's like flour, onion, tomato, can of tomatoes, some sort of beef, maybe potatoes. So I'm just going to go with a reference out of a book called Fixed Bayonets. It's a memoir of the First World War written by a captain. He does a lot of illustrations that he drew during the combat or right afterwards, which is kind of neat. But I just finished this book last month, but it's a very old book. It's from like, I think the 20s it was published, but on, I believe it's page 198, and I'll read it. Just bear with me. Yeah, so the chapter's called Monkey Meat, which is the slang term for the French rations, the French like corned beef that was issued to the Marines and other troops to make up for ration shortages, and because the Marines fought with the French a lot. But I thought it was kind of interesting, and I'll read it. You can actually read it with me, but in the mess kit was simmering a grayish and unattractive matter with doubtful yellow lumps into which the lieutenant fed discriminately bits of hard bread, frayed tomato from a can. Now, he also mentions monkey meat, so today I'm going to be doing exactly that. I'm going to be doing a can of tomatoes. I'll be doing can of tomatoes, can of corned beef, which I don't have the French ration yet. I made these myself, but I don't have the canned ration yet. Still working on the label. However, I will be doing that soon. And then I actually just made these. They were kind of quickly done, but I made some hardtack. They're usually supposed to be 2 by 2 inches, but it was just very hastily done just to get the idea across. Then you get the hardtack or hard bread tin that I usually use in reenactments. Alright, that being said, I'm going to be doing, so this is generally issued, I'm going to be doing half of each, just because I'm using it out of a mess tin, and doing it out of the mess tin, so, not going to be, so like typically, and even in the thing, it was split between 2 Marines or 2 soldiers, whatever, but I'm going to open it up. So, see if I get this. Now, funny story. My last reenactment at Newville, I actually cut my thumb open and had to get 5 stitches because of a goddamn corned beef can. And I'll show you because I still have the corned beef can. But it wasn't a good time, so be careful when you use these rations on the edges. It was very cold, and I slipped when I was taking chunks out because it was frozen, and I cut my finger on this can. Still got blood right on it. Yep, kind of gross. Alright, I'll show you what I'm doing with that. So, open up the mess kit. It's World War I, 1918 dated. I'm going to be cooking it. Alright. Just for purposes just to weigh it down. I'm gonna do about half the can. About half the can. That would be, this is quite a bit of meat, to be honest with you. I wouldn't even do half of it, but I'm just gonna go with it. Alright, so now I'm gonna be using the tomatoes. So these are supposed to be either full tomatoes or sliced tomatoes. I did, I think, crushed, just because I don't, you know, I'd rather do, I like the crushed. I'm gonna be using a World War II knife. It's a reproduction, but made by the same company. I don't have my original can opener that's coming in the mail, but first time I'm using this, so all right, so. Being careful not to cut myself. So. Probably put way too much in there. But, okay. Now, for the hardtack, see I already cut myself a little bit. Gonna break it up. Now I don't make my hardtack like stones or something very hard, so the recipe is you make salt, flour, and water together into like a dough substance, and then you cook it for 20 minutes, and then you flip them, cook them for another 20 minutes, which makes them harder than a rock, and the shelf life is obviously way longer. I like to cook them for just the first 20 minutes so you can actually enjoy it, but yeah, so I'm gonna kind of mix that up. This doesn't look that appetizing, but I'm sure compared to just the normal rations that you would get, you know, this slum, as they called it, and the monkey meat, which I read it, monkey meat, it's Argentinian meat, or corned beef that the French were issued, like I said before. Forgot to say it was Argentinian. I do crushed tomatoes or something. I think these might be fire roasted, but okay. Now let's get this all in there. Now, the reason, besides having a keepsake, put the lid on, this over the side. I'm going to use this can, which I took my trench knife and poked holes in it for vents. It's kind of like a makeshift heater, so I'm gonna, a period lighter I couldn't find, so let's do another one. They didn't have Esbit tablets during the war, but they work great, and instead of using something kind of farby, I think this is a cool way to cook. And since corned beef is such a big thing in the World War I community, you know, you got plenty of these tins, but put this on here. See how we're doing. Looking pretty good now. If I were in a trench or holding the line, this would be pretty damn good. I just kind of smoked it out. Alright, so let's get a close-up of that. Beef kind of all kind of came into a paste, and the tomatoes had all settled. Looking pretty good. Let's pour some water for a nice drink. Now you can add water to this, depending on how much you use. I definitely suggest with this recipe, splitting it with a friend, half and half. That way you and your buddy sharing a foxhole or just part of your trench. You know, everyone gets some. You can even make it in a, split it in a 4, or get a pot and do a couple cans of each and throw some hard bread in. But let's get a bite. That's not bad. The tomatoes that I got are like crushed and like smoked. You can see kind of the bits of black in there is like the charred smoke, but softens up the hard bread pretty well, and mixed the tomatoes mixed with the corned beef actually has a nice flavor to it. Like I said, this is supposed to be like a stew. You can add potatoes, you can add tomatoes, you can add, tomatoes, flour, salt, pepper, potatoes, what else? You can add beans. You can really add whatever you want or what you had, but typically, like I said, onion, flour, salt, pepper, tomatoes, and corned beef were the mix. So it's not bad. So I just wanted to show you guys that. I think there's not a lot of videos out there for this World War I stuff, comparatively to World War II. And you know, food was a big part of you know, daily life of a soldier in any war, especially in World War I, and how bad the conditions were. And the meals, the rations that they were issued were subpar, to say the least. And doing anything to spice up your meals definitely helps. You know, they had what they called slum guns, which were like the field kitchens, which are like big kitchens on 2 wheels. But you know, hot meals couldn't always get out to the lines, especially in combat. They had to do with what they had. And this isn't bad. I would definitely eat this at an event. But thanks for tuning in, and hope you enjoyed.